The air in my home felt heavy, charged with a sense of dread that seemed to seep through the walls. I sat on the edge of the couch, staring at my phone, the glow of the screen illuminating the darkness that had suddenly taken over my life. The message was brief, chilling in its simplicity. James is not who you think he is. I read it again, as if the words might change, might somehow make sense if I looked at them long enough. But they didn't. They sat there, cold and accusatory. Who sent this? My heart raced, pounding in my chest like a drum. My mind whirled with questions. Was it a cruel joke? A mistake? Or was it a warning I needed to heed? My life with James had felt perfect. We had built a beautiful home together, filled with laughter and dreams. But now that perfect image began to crack, revealing shadows I had never noticed before. Could it be true? I whispered to myself, my voice trembling. I had always trusted James, believed in our love. How could I even begin to question him? But something deep inside me stirred, a flicker of doubt igniting a fire within. I had to know the truth. I couldn't let this eat away at me, not when my heart was on the line. I took a deep breath, allowing determination to wash over me. I would investigate. I had to uncover whatever secret lay beneath the surface of our life together. But the thought of what I might find filled me with dread. What if the message was real? What if the man I loved had been living a double life? I pushed the thoughts aside, focusing instead on the task at hand. I grabbed my notebook, jotting down questions I needed to answer. If James wasn't who I thought he was, then who was he? What had I missed? My mind flashed back to our early days, the laughter, the long talks that stretched into the night, the way he looked at me like I was the only person in the world. Those memories felt like a beautiful dream, but now they were tainted with uncertainty. Why would someone say that? I muttered, pacing the room. I needed to confront him. But how? What would I even say? James, I got this strange message, and now I'm questioning everything? I imagined the look on his face, the confusion that would cloud his features, but there was no time for fear. I had to act. I glanced at the clock, the hands ticking away the seconds like a countdown. I could feel the weight of my decision pressing down on me, but I resolved to face him. I'll ask him tonight, I decided, my heart racing with the thought of the confrontation to come. As I prepared for our evening together, I felt a mix of anxiety and resolve. I was on the brink of something monumental. The truth, no matter how painful, had to come out. James deserved a chance to explain, but I also needed to be ready for whatever he might say. Just then, my phone buzzed again, jolting me from my thoughts. I glanced at the screen, half expecting another ominous message. But it was just a notification from a news app. I sighed, feeling a bit foolish for letting paranoia creep in. But deep down, the message lingered like a shadow, refusing to let me go. I took one last look in the mirror, adjusting my hair, trying to appear calm and collected. You can do this, Elise, I whispered to my reflection, seeking strength in my own words. The truth was waiting for me, and I was ready to face it. I just hoped it wouldn't shatter everything I held dear. With my heart pounding, I opened the door to face the evening ahead, ready to confront James. Would he be the man I thought I knew? Or would I discover something that changed everything? The tension crackled in the air as I prepared for the conversation that would change my life forever. The morning sun streamed through the curtains, but it did little to warm the cold knot in my stomach. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my coffee cup. The message from the night before echoed in my mind. James is not who you think he is. I couldn't shake the feeling that everything I thought I knew was a lie. As I tried to focus on the memories of our early days, I found myself lost in a fog of doubt. I remembered how James used to pull me close, whispering sweet nothings as we watched the stars. We had built a life together, sharing dreams and laughter. But now those memories felt tainted. I put my hand over my heart, wishing I could feel that warmth again, but all I felt was confusion. I had to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Slowly, I started my investigation. I began with small questions, testing the waters. "So, James, what did you get up to last night?" I asked casually over dinner. He looked up from his plate, his brow furrowing slightly. "Oh, just the usual work stuff," he replied, his smile a little too quick. I nodded, but inside, I felt a twinge of distrust. I had to dig deeper. Over the next few days, I noticed little things that didn't add up. James was often vague about his schedule, and sometimes he would come home late with a scent of perfume that wasn't mine. I tried to brush it off, telling myself I was being paranoid, but the seed of doubt had been planted, and it was growing. One evening, while James was out for a run, I took a chance and went through his things. I was shaking as I opened his drawer, but I had to see if there was any evidence to support my fears. Among the socks and old receipts, I found a small phone, hidden beneath a pile of shirts. My heart raced as I picked it up. I turned it on, and the screen lit up with messages and photos. My breath caught in my throat as I scrolled through pictures of James with another woman, laughing, their arms around each other. The messages were even worse. Sweet nothings exchanged, plans to meet up. Each word felt like a dagger to my heart. I stumbled back, clutching the phone as if it were a live grenade. Tears streamed down my face as the reality of what I had found sank in. How could he do this to me? I felt the betrayal wash over me like a tidal wave, pulling me under. "Hey, babe, I'm back!" James's voice broke through my thoughts. Panic set in as I quickly hid the phone behind my back. I forced a smile, trying to act normal. "Just tidying up," I said, my voice shaky. "Looks great in here," he replied, oblivious. But I could see the flicker of suspicion in his eyes. I had to confront him, but the thought of it terrified me. What if he denied everything? What if he turned it around on me? That night, as I lay in bed next to him, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, the weight of my discovery heavy on my chest. I wanted to scream, to confront him right then, but fear held me back. What if he dismissed my feelings? What if this was the end of our marriage? Finally, I sat up and turned to him. "James, can we talk?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Sure. What's on your mind?" He turned to me, concern etched on his face. I just need to know if there's something you're not telling me," I said, my heart racing. He frowned, clearly confused. "What do you mean?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the hidden phone pressing against my chest. I had to gather my courage. "I found something, and I need to know the truth." He opened his mouth to respond, but I could see the flicker of fear in his eyes. I knew I had to confront him with what I had discovered. The truth was out there, and I was ready to face it, even if it meant losing the life I thought I had. The tension in the room felt like a thick fog, wrapping around us as I prepared to confront James. My heart raced, and every beat echoed in my ears. I had gathered all the evidence, the hidden messages, the photos, the lies. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my shaking hands. "James," I said, my voice trembling but firm, "we need to talk." He looked up from his phone, a casual smile fading from his face. "What's going on, Elise? You look serious." I could hear the mockery in his tone, the way he tried to brush off my anxiety. "I know about the other woman," I replied, my voice stronger now. I pulled out my phone and showed him the images that had shattered my faith in him. "I found these. You can't deny it." James's expression shifted instantly. Anger flashed in his eyes as he snatched the phone from my hand. "What are you talking about? This is ridiculous." He glared at me, a storm brewing behind his facade of calm. "You're making a fool of yourself, Elise. You're just being paranoid." Paranoid? I felt the heat rising in my cheeks. "You think I'm making this up? Look at the dates, James. You were with her while you were supposed to be with me." My heart pounded as I watched him scramble for words, and I could see the gears turning in his mind as he searched for a way to escape the truth. "I can explain," he stammered, his voice rising. "Those texts mean nothing. You don't understand the context. It's just some friends messing around. You're overreacting." Overreacting? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You call lying to me over and over again nothing? You've built this whole life on lies, James. How could you do this?" He ran a hand through his hair, visibly frustrated. "You're twisting everything. I love you, Elise. You have to believe me. This is not what it seems." "Then tell me the truth," I shouted, the weight of my emotions crashing down on me. "How can I trust you when all I have are your words? You've lied to me for so long." His eyes darted around the room, avoiding my gaze. "You're being dramatic. We've been through so much together. Why would I throw that away?" "Because you think you can get away with it," I snapped back. "You think I'm just going to stand here and accept your lies?" The silence that followed was deafening. I could feel the walls closing in on me, the reality of my situation weighing heavily on my chest. I had loved him, believed in him, and now I was left with nothing but betrayal. "I can't believe you'd go this far," he finally said, his voice low and filled with venom. "You're turning this into a fight instead of trusting me." Trust. The word echoed in my mind, a bitter reminder of everything I had lost. "You've broken my trust, James. I can't just pretend everything is fine when it's not." He stepped closer, his anger morphing into desperation. "Elise, please, don't do this. You're ruining everything." "Ruining everything?" I laughed bitterly, tears pricking my eyes. "You've already ruined it. I'm just trying to save what's left of myself." The reality of the moment crashed over me, and I felt a surge of clarity. This wasn't just about him. It was about me reclaiming my life and my sense of self. I had to expose the lies that had wrapped around us like a noose. "I'm done living in your shadow," I said, my voice steady. "I will not let you manipulate me anymore. I deserve better." James's face twisted in anger. "You'll regret this, Elise. You have no idea what you're doing." I took a deep breath, holding my ground. "No, James, I finally understand. I won't let your lies define me any longer." As I turned away from him, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. The confrontation had been painful, but it was also liberating. I was ready to expose the truth, to unravel the web of deceit that had entangled my life for too long. The shadows of betrayal would no longer control me, and I was determined to take back my power. As I sat at the kitchen table, the weight of my plan pressed down on me like a heavy stone. The dinner party was just a few days away, and my heart raced with a mixture of excitement and dread. I knew that revealing James's betrayal to our friends and family would change everything, but I was determined to expose the truth. I had been living in a shadow, and it was time to step into the light. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. "What if they don't believe me?" I whispered to myself, staring at the blank page in front of me. I had written my speech several times, but each version felt inadequate. I needed it to be perfect, to convey the depth of my pain and the reality of James's lies. "Hey, Elise, you okay in there?" Sarah called from the living room. She had come over to help me prepare, and I was grateful for her support. I opened the door and forced a smile, hoping to hide my inner turmoil. "Just practicing my speech," I replied, trying to sound casual. "It's a work in progress." Sarah raised an eyebrow, clearly not convinced. "You know you can tell me anything, right? I'm here for you." I sighed, feeling the tears well up in my eyes. "I just don't know how to start. I want everyone to understand why I'm doing this, but I'm scared of how they'll react." She walked over and placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. "You're strong, Elise. No matter what happens, you have to stay true to yourself. Just speak from your heart." Her words gave me a little boost of confidence. I returned to my speech, jotting down notes about how I would reveal James's deceit. I included the hidden messages, the photos, everything that would prove my case. I wanted our friends and family to see the real James, the man who had betrayed me. As the day of the dinner party approached, my anxiety grew. I could hardly eat or sleep, consumed by thoughts of what was to come. I practiced my speech over and over, pacing the living room while Sarah helped me set the table. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, glancing at me with concern. I nodded, though I felt a knot form in my stomach. I have to be. I can't live in this lie anymore. The evening arrived, and I wore my favorite dress, hoping to feel more confident. The dining table was beautifully set, the candles flickering in the dim light. As our friends arrived, I greeted them with forced smiles, my heart racing with each familiar face that walked through the door. "Wow, Elise, this looks amazing," Mark said, admiring the table. "You really went all out." "Thanks, I wanted it to be special," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. As dinner progressed, I could feel the tension building in me. Laughter filled the room, but I felt like an outsider in my own home. Finally, it was time. I looked around the table, taking in the faces of the people I loved. They looked so happy, so unaware of the storm that was about to hit. "Can I have everyone's attention, please?" I said, my voice trembling slightly. The laughter faded, and all eyes turned to me. "There is something important I need to share." The room fell silent, and I could feel the weight of their gazes. "I need to talk about James," I continued, my heart pounding in my chest. "What I'm about to say is hard, but it's the truth. James has been unfaithful to me." Gasps echoed around the table, and I saw the shock on their faces. James's expression shifted from confusion to anger. "Elise, what are you talking about?" he demanded, his voice rising. "You're making a huge mistake." Ignoring him, I pressed on. "I have evidence, messages, photos, everything." I looked directly at my friends, searching for their support. "I can't keep living this lie. You all deserve to know the truth about him." The room erupted into chaos. "This can't be true," Sarah exclaimed, her eyes wide. "James, is this real?" "I can explain," James shouted, desperation in his voice. "Elise is just upset. She's trying to ruin everything." But my heart ached as I saw the confusion and hurt on my friends' faces. I had wanted to expose James, but now I felt the weight of their disappointment and anger. The quest for vengeance had spiraled into something I never expected. I didn't want to hurt the people I loved. As I looked around the table, I realized that while I had sought to expose one betrayal, I had unintentionally hurt many others. The unintended consequences of my actions began to weigh heavily on me, and I felt a wave of remorse wash over my determination. The night after the dinner party felt like a heavy blanket draped over my heart. I had exposed James, and while I thought it would feel like a victory, it only left me feeling empty and confused. I sat alone in the living room, staring at the wall as the silence wrapped around me. My phone buzzed, jolting me from my thoughts. It was a message from Sarah, one of my closest friends. "Hey, can we talk? I'm worried about you." I sighed. I didn't want to face anyone, but I knew I couldn't hide forever. I replied, "Sure, I could use a friend." When Sarah arrived, I could see the concern etched on her face. She sat down beside me and took a deep breath. "Elise, what happened last night? It was intense. You really shocked everyone." "I know," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. But it was the truth. I had to tell them. "Did you? Or did you just want to hurt James?" she asked gently, probing but not harsh. Her question lingered in the air. I wanted to deny it, to say that I only wanted justice, but deep down, I could feel the guilt creeping in. "Maybe both," I admitted. "I just wanted everyone to see him for who he really is." Sarah reached out and squeezed my hand. "You have every right to be angry, Elise. But sometimes the truth can hurt more than lies. What about your friends? They don't know how to feel now." I nodded, remembering the shocked faces of our loved ones. My heart sank as I thought of them torn between loyalty to James and their love for me. "I didn't think about how it would affect them," I confessed. "Maybe it's time to reach out. Let them know you're okay and that you still care about them," Sarah suggested. "You're not the only one hurting here." I looked at her, realizing she was right. I had been so focused on my own pain and revenge that I had forgotten about the people around us. "I'll try," I promised. "But what if they choose him?" "They might, but that doesn't mean they don't love you," Sarah said softly. "You're still their friend." As Sarah and I talked, I felt a bit lighter. We shared stories and laughter, reminding me of the good times before everything fell apart. But just as I began to feel okay, a wave of sadness washed over me. I missed the life I had with James, the plans we had made, and the dreams we had shared. The next few days were a blur. I reached out to a couple of friends, but the responses were mixed. Some were supportive, while others seemed distant. I could feel the divide growing, and with it, my guilt deepened. "Elise, you need to talk to him," Mark, another friend, urged one evening. "You can't just cut ties completely." "Why should I?" I shot back, frustration bubbling up. "He betrayed me. He hurt me." "I get that, but you also hurt him, and you hurt others. This isn't just about you anymore," Mark replied, his tone firm, yet understanding. I fell silent, processing his words. "You think I should apologize?" I asked hesitantly. "Not necessarily an apology, but some acknowledgement of what happened. You were hurt, and that's valid. But it's also important to recognize the pain this caused others, including James," he explained. A part of me wanted to scream that I owed him nothing. But another part, the part that was slowly starting to emerge from the shadows, knew that healing meant understanding and compassion. "Maybe I do need to talk to him," I whispered, more to myself than to Mark. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision settle on my shoulders. I would confront James, not for revenge, but to find some closure. I wanted to understand why it had come to this. Maybe I could find a way to heal, not just for myself, but for everyone involved. As I prepared for the conversation, a flicker of hope stirred within me. Perhaps this was not just about revenge. Perhaps there was a path to healing, one where I could learn to forgive, not just James, but myself as well. And as I sat on my couch, reflecting on the journey ahead, I realized that true justice might not be in the pain I caused, but in the peace I could find. As I stood in front of the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. The shadows of betrayal still lingered in my mind, but I felt a flicker of something new. Hope. I took a deep breath, trying to shake off the remnants of pain that clung to me like a heavy cloak. Today marked the beginning of my journey to reclaim my identity, a journey I had been too afraid to start before. I decided to take a walk in the park, a place where I had once laughed and shared dreams with James. The sun peeked through the trees, casting warm light on the path ahead. With each step, I felt a sense of freedom wash over me. I was no longer defined by James's lies. I was me, and I had to find out who that was. As I walked, my phone buzzed with a message from Sarah, my old friend. "Hey, wanna grab coffee? I miss you." A smile spread across my face. I hadn't seen Sarah since everything had happened. I hesitated for a moment, fearing her reaction to my situation. But I knew I needed support. I typed back, "I'd love to. See you soon." When I arrived at the cafe, I spotted Sarah right away. She waved, her smile lighting up the room. "Elise, it's so good to see you," she exclaimed, pulling me into a warm hug. I felt a rush of comfort in her embrace. "I've missed you," I admitted, settling into my seat. "It's been a rough few weeks. I can't even imagine. I've heard bits and pieces, but I want to hear it from you," Sarah said gently, her eyes filled with concern. I took a deep breath, deciding to open up. James betrayed me. I found messages and I exposed him to everyone. It felt like the right thing to do, but now I just feel lost. Sarah nodded, her expression serious. You did what you felt you had to do, but you also need to take care of yourself now. You can't let his actions define your worth. Her words resonated with me. I had spent so long feeling broken, like I had lost a part of myself. I want to forgive myself for not seeing the signs sooner. I want to move on, but it's hard. Of course it is. Healing takes time, Sarah said softly. But you're not alone. I'm here for you. We can figure this out together. As we talked, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I realized that opening up to someone I trusted was the first step toward healing. I began to see that I could form new connections, friendships that could help me rebuild my life. I could find strength in vulnerability. After our coffee, Sarah invited me to join a small support group she attended. It's full of wonderful people who've been through tough times. It might help you to share and listen to others, she suggested. I hesitated, but the thought of connecting with others who understood my pain appealed to me. Okay, I'll give it a try, I said, feeling a mix of anxiety and excitement. The next evening, I walked into the community center where the group met. I felt nervous, but Sarah was by my side. As I entered the room, I saw a circle of chairs filled with smiling faces. They welcomed me with open arms, and I felt a sense of belonging that I hadn't experienced in a long time. One by one, people shared their stories of betrayal and healing. As I listened, I realized I wasn't alone in my pain. Each story echoed the struggles I faced, and I felt a connection growing among us. When it was my turn, I shared my journey, my heartbreak, and my desire for redemption. You are so strong for sharing that, one woman said after I finished. You're taking steps to reclaim your life. That's what matters. Her words ignited a spark within me. I could feel the shadows of betrayal starting to fade. With each meeting, I became more comfortable in my skin, more willing to forgive myself and others. As I left the group that night, I took a moment to reflect. I realized that true strength lies not in never falling, but in rising after we do. I was on the path to rediscovering who I was, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. With each passing day, I embraced my newfound freedom. I was learning to accept myself and the journey I was on. And as I let go of the shadows of betrayal, I opened my heart to the possibility of love and friendship once again. Share this story if you believe that healing and hope can emerge from the deepest pain. Leave a comment about a moment when opening up to someone changed your life, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.